Anna James sat at her desk, fingers tracing the edge of a well-worn notebook as the classroom buzzed around her. The air smelled of chalk dust and the faint citrus of hand sanitizer, the kind the school nurse insisted on stocking in every room. It was a Thursday morning in Lansing, Michigan, just after homeroom, and Mrs. Callahan had already begun her usual routine, checking attendance with a voice that carried just enough to silence the restless shuffling of backpacks and whispered conversations. Anna wasn't the kind of kid who drew attention to herself. She spoke when called on, turned in her homework on time, and sat somewhere in the middle of the classroom, not front and center, but not hiding in the back either. Her braids were always neat, tied back with a simple blue elastic, and her shoes were practical, scuffed at the toes from years of hand-me-down wear. She didn't mind being overlooked most days. But today was different. Mrs. Callahan clapped her hands together. "All right, class, we're starting our What My Parent Does presentations. Remember, this is about respect and learning from each other." One by one, kids stood up. There was Jake Morrison, whose dad was a police officer, and Emma Ruiz, whose mom owned a small bakery downtown. Even Liam, who usually slouched in his seat, sat up straighter when he talked about his older sister in the Navy. The class clapped politely after each one, some more enthusiastic than others. Then it was Anna's turn. She stood slowly, smoothing the wrinkles from her sweater. She hadn't written anything down. She didn't need to. "My mom works at NASA," she said, clear and steady. For a second, there was silence. Then came the snickers. A boy in the back, Ethan, let out a loud, exaggerated cough that sounded suspiciously like, "Yeah, right." Someone else whispered, "Like the space NASA?" Anna didn't flinch. She just stood there, waiting. Mrs. Callahan's lips pressed into a thin line. She didn't laugh, but she didn't defend Anna either. Instead, she gave a tight nod and said, "Thank you, Anna. Next up, we have..." Anna sat back down, her face carefully blank. She could feel the stares, the smirks, the way Ethan leaned over to his friend and muttered something she couldn't quite hear. She didn't need to. She knew what they were thinking. Because Anna James wasn't the kind of kid people expected to have a mom who worked with rockets. The James family lived in a modest two-story house on the outskirts of Lansing, where the sidewalks cracked with age and the trees leaned a little too far over the road. It wasn't fancy, but it was home. Warm, lived in, with a porch light that stayed on late into the night. Anna pushed open the front door after school, letting it swing shut behind her with a soft thud. Her mom, Dr. Rachel James, was in the kitchen, stirring a pot of something that smelled like garlic and thyme. She didn't turn around right away. "You're late," she said, though there was no real edge to it. Anna dropped her backpack by the stairs. "Had to stay back to clean the whiteboards." Rachel turned then, taking one look at her daughter's face before lowering the heat on the stove. "What happened?" Anna hesitated. She wasn't one to complain, wasn't the type to make a big deal out of things. But today had stung. "They laughed at me," she said finally, "when I told them where you work." Rachel didn't react right away. She just leaned against the counter, arms crossed. "Did they now?" Anna nodded. "Ethan said I was lying." Mrs. Callahan just moved on. Rachel exhaled, slow and measured. "And what did you say back?" "Nothing." "Do you think you should have?" Anna frowned. "No, it's not my job to convince them." Rachel smiled then, just a little. "Exactly." Rachel James hadn't always been the kind of woman people took seriously either. She grew up in Detroit, in a neighborhood where most kids didn't talk about college, let alone space travel. Her high school guidance counselor had once told her, "You're smart, Rachel, but let's be realistic. Maybe aim for community college." She hadn't argued. She'd just applied to the University of Michigan anyway. Her first year in engineering, she'd been one of 3 women in her class, the only black woman. Professors mixed up her name. Group partners talked over her. Once, after acing a thermodynamics exam, she'd overheard a classmate say, "She must have cheated." She didn't waste energy on anger. She just kept working. Now standing in her daughter's kitchen, she stirred the pot absently. "You know what I did when people didn't believe me?" Anna looked up. "What?" "I let them catch up." The next morning, Anna walked into class with her head high. She didn't glance at Ethan, didn't wait for whispers. She just took her seat and opened her notebook. But something had shifted. At recess, a girl named Maya, who had never spoken to Anna before, walked up to her near the swings. "Is it true?" she asked. "Your mom really works at NASA?" Anna nodded. Maya chewed her lip. "That's really cool." It wasn't an apology, but it was something. Parent Day arrived that Friday. The classroom was rearranged into a half circle, chairs squeezed together to make space for the adults filing in. Anna sat near the middle, hands folded in her lap. She hadn't told anyone her mom was coming. Rachel walked in halfway through the presentations. She wasn't wearing a lab coat or a spacesuit, just a simple black blazer, her NASA badge clipped to the collar. But the second she stepped inside, the room went quiet. Mrs. Callahan's voice faltered. "Oh, welcome. You must be Dr. Rachel James," Rachel said smoothly, "Anna's mother." The silence stretched. Then Rachel smiled. Not smug, not gloating, just sure. "Would you like me to talk about what I do?" By the time she finished explaining orbital mechanics in a way even fifth graders could follow, no one was laughing anymore. Ethan didn't meet Anna's eyes for the rest of the day, and Anna, she didn't need him to. That night, as they sat at the kitchen table eating leftovers, Rachel glanced at her daughter. "You okay?" Anna nodded. Then after a pause, "Do you think they really believe me now?" Rachel shrugged. "Some will, some won't. That's not your problem." Anna picked at her food. "It just shouldn't have been so hard for them to believe in the first place." Rachel reached over, squeezing her hand. "No," she agreed. "It shouldn't have." The following Monday, when Mrs. Callahan asked the class to write down their dream jobs, Anna didn't hesitate. "Astronautical engineer," she wrote. "Like my mom." This time no one laughed. And Anna? She didn't need them to.